Many Louisianians read the stories about the welfare fraud in Minnesota and, frankly, in other states, and it makes them nauseous. I feel the same way. That's why I have been working for years, literally years, to target welfare fraud, especially the fraudsters who conduct fraud in the name of deceased Americans. In 2023 alone, for example, the federal government sent $1.3 billion, not million, billion. The federal government sent $1.3 billion to dead people.
Louisiana Senator John Kennedy's quest to end payments to dead people's heads to U.S. President Donald Trump's desk for his signature. It's a bill that he sponsored that aims to end welfare payments to people who have passed away. In 2023 alone, for example, the federal government sent $1.3 billion to dead people, Kennedy said. Kennedy added that the Social Security Administration told him that it was not at liberty to share that information with other government departments without congressional approval, so he passed a bill in 2023 that created a pilot program that allowed it to do just that. Kennedy noted it's been very effective. Kennedy filed a follow-up bill to give the Social Security Administration permanent permission to share that information with other government agencies, and both houses of Congress have passed it.
I want to talk to you about the Ending Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. Boy, that's a mouthful. Here's what I want to talk about. Many Louisianians read the stories about the welfare fraud in Minnesota and, frankly, in other states, and it makes them nauseous. I feel the same way. That's why I have been working for years, literally years, to target welfare fraud, especially the fraudsters who conduct fraud in the name of deceased Americans. In 2023 alone, for example, the federal government sent $1.3 billion, not million, billion. The federal government sent $1.3 billion to dead people. It's so pervasive that the Social Security Administration, which maintains a list of dead Americans known as the Death Master File, if someone dies, the state sends the name of the deceased person to the Social Security Administration, and that person's name is listed on what's called the Death Master File. We found that Social Security was not sharing this information, the names of the folks on the Death Master File, with the rest of the federal government. One branch of government wasn't talking to another branch of government. The Social Security Administration told me when I confronted them about this and asked them, why don't you talk to your colleagues and other colleagues in the federal government so we can stop paying dead people? Social Security told me it needed Congress's permission to share this information with, for example, the Treasury Department, so it could include the list of dead Americans in its do not pay system. I didn't argue with them. I said, I'm just going to go pass a bill. Well, a few years ago I did. I passed a bill called the Stopping Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And that bill allowed the Social Security Administration to temporarily share its Death Master File with the Department of the Treasury. I had to amend the bill to provide, it's a long story and it was frustrating, to provide for a temporary sharing. They wanted to try it out first. Well, it worked. Duh. Since December of 2023, this bill has saved the federal government at least $330 million in improper payments. We're no longer paying dead people and having their friends or relatives or whomever cash the checks. It was obvious that Congress needed to make this data sharing arrangement permanent. So I had to introduce, and was happy to do it, I introduced a second bill to do just that. That's why it took years to get this done. This week, I'm pleased to say the House passed my bill, the Ending Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. This bill had already passed the Senate, And now that it's passed the House, it's on its way to President Trump's desk so he can sign it into law. Now, dead people don't need welfare. I think that's obvious. But I'm not going to stop with just this bill. I'm going to continue to urge my colleagues in the Senate and my friends in the House to pass another reconciliation bill, which we can do without Democratic votes, just like we did the one big beautiful bill, to include the subject of welfare fraud. Welfare fraud. It's inexcusable, it's unconscionable. These are taxpayer dollars. And I'm not going to stop till we get it done.
Earlier, John Kennedy explained how much money the federal government has wasted in payments to dead Americans in a speech on the Senate floor.
I want to talk about dead people and the fact that they're getting money from the federal government. In fiscal year 2023 alone, this is just 1 year, our government sent $1.3 billion, not $1.3 million. We sent $1.3 billion in checks to dead people. Those aren't my numbers. Those numbers come from the Office of Management and Budget. That's just 1 year. Not only is the federal government sending checks to dead people, those checks are being cashed. Now, I have heard, Mr. President, of dead people voting, but cashing the checks? You don't have to be God's perfect idiot to realize that there's fraud happening with respect to all this money. Here's how this problem arises. When you die in America, your name is sent to the Vital Records Office in your state. And at that point, the Social Security Administration pays each state to get an ongoing list of deceased Americans in that state. So far, so good. The Social Security Administration takes this data, this list of deceased people, and they compile on an ongoing basis a list called the Death Master File. The Death Master File. That's just a list of everybody, updated daily, of people in the United States who are deceased. Why does the Social Security Administration do this? Well, so the SSA, Social Security Administration, can stop sending people who have died checks. So far, so good. There's just one problem. I discovered this about 7 years ago. The Social Security Administration refuses to share that list with anybody else in the federal government. They won't share it with any other federal agencies, many of which send out checks. The Department of Treasury, for example, sends out checks. SSA won't share the information with them. The Small Business Administration sends out a lot of checks. The Social Security Administration has a list of all deceased Americans, but SSA will not share that information with the SBA.